Hello, this video is a detailed description of the auto arm. This is the auto arm. Its primary purpose is to move tier 1 objects from the yellow circle on the left to the blue circle on the right. It costs 1,500 bytes to unlock and 1 aluminum and 1 graphite to print. When it is on, regardless if it is moving anything or not, it consumes 1 power per second. It contains a filter slot in the center that will allow the auto arm to only pick up that particular tier 1 item, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The auto arm can pick up any loose or attached items in the yellow circle and will put it to any tier 1 attachment point that is within the blue circle. This includes your backpack. It can pick up from anywhere and put to basically any attachment point. So it's regardless if it's loose storage or not, it will grab anything that's within the yellow circle and put it in the blue circle. And this is the case with objects storage that you're holding as well. So if I pass this through here, it'll pick that up as well. The auto arm can pick up any tier 1 item. So in this case, we have some research samples, we have a seed, and we have some debris, and it can pick up all that stuff. It will not, however, pick up deployed objects. So in this case, we have some storage sensors, some battery sensors, and a packager, and they're all those two are out, and these 3 are actually deployed and attached to this medium platform. This storage sensor is also deployed, but if I remove the deployment, it'll pick it up and it'll put it down as well. This is the same for the button repeater, the count repeater, and the delay repeater. As long as it's deployed, it will not pick it up, but the second you do not have any segment pins attached to it, it will pick it up. There is some interesting nuance to this in that if you have a sensor or repeater with something attached to the top slot, it is not considered deployed. And also if something has a segment pin attached to it, but no segment pins coming out of it, it is also not considered deployed. There is also the chance that it will pick up the object in its entirety. Sometimes it will also pick up just the top of the object. Oh, there we go. And it does not consider the top of sensors or repeaters to be valid places to put objects. So in this case, we're holding up a work light and it is not putting it on top of this button repeater. Things attached by power are also considered deployed. So in this case, we have a power sensor, power switch, and a cable extender, and it's only picking up the ones that are not connected. This is true even if there is power running through them or not. As long as they're connected by a power cable, they will not be picked up by an auto arm. The auto arm has some interesting behavior when it comes to canisters. As you can see, it will not put objects that can't go into the canisters on the canister, but I can put the object on top of the canister, and it will, because it will only put a resource in there, it will put any resource in an empty canister, but once the canister is filled with a specific resource, it will only put that resource in it. This also applies to canisters that are set to output. As you can see here, I can pull off stuff from here and it works just fine even while I'm inputting resin into this canister. The mechanics of the auto arm work even when it's off. The auto arm will check for items in its input and output zone, even when it's off. Here's a quick montage of the auto arm picking stuff up. As you can see, if the item is already there and I turn on the auto arm, it picks it up instantly. But if I quickly drop the item onto the platform to be picked up, while most of the time it's almost instantaneous, there are a couple of instances where it takes a second for the auto arm to realize that there's an item to be picked up there. And then it's the same thing with outputting. As you can see here, when I just pull the item off the platform, there's a couple of times where it takes the auto arm a second to realize there's an empty space before putting down the item. Whereas if the auto arm is powered off and there is an empty space, it always instantaneously puts the item onto the platform. Now onto the range of the auto arm. So the height that the auto arm can pull from is quite large. So here we have an auto arm, and here's a tall platform for scale. It can pick up stuff from way up there and put it on this other platform. The height going down from the auto arm is a little less. This is kind of the maximum range lower that it will go. It will pick up stuff from down here. As you can see, the range it can pick up from the below itself is a lot smaller than the range it can pick up from above itself. There's also a little bit of wonkiness with what the actual circle of where it can put and pull stuff. So if you see the circles here, it's only from the first two connection points that I can attach and grab stuff. And so that put that resin over here, and it won't grab this resin until I put it over here. And it does not have enough space to put that second resin on the other platform. However, in this example, we have a platform that is just barely touching these tier 3 attachment points, and it can pull from this specific attachment point, but it can put to any place on this output platform here. So as you can see, it is just barely touching that first slot right here, but it can put it over there. And if I bring this over, oops, grab that, oh, that works. It'll still put it well outside the range of the circle. So we can see this again in this example right here. The auto arm is barely touching the attachment points that are under the rightmost solar panels. And if I take this and put it here, I'll turn this on, you can pick it up, and it can put it all the way on any of these 4 attachment points over here. You do have to be careful with this. It seems like it's only points that are attached by red lines that it can do this with. If I grab this thing over here, let's grab the resin and put it on here, it cannot grab this because it's out of the range of the large storage silo. And until I get it within range, it cannot actually pick it up. So if you have large storage silos with medium silos attached to them, there's the possibility that it can't grab or can't put to the outermost points. And now on to the filter slot. So the filter slot works by any item you put on the middle of the auto arm. The auto arm will only pick up that item. So in this case, we have put resin there, and it's only picking up the resin. Even though there's a compound in its input zone, it will not pick it up. This holds true with packaged objects as well. So we're filtering for medium platform Bs, and it just picked up the medium platform B, and it does not pick up the medium generator. The filtering works on item ID and not name. So in this case, we have a research sample that's organic, and it only picked up this research sample that's organic, even though this research sample that's organic has exactly the same name. It's a slightly different shape, and so it has a different item ID, and that's what the AutoArm is filtering for. One of the interesting things is the filter slot cannot distinguish between full and partially full items. So in this case, we've pulled we are filtering for soil, and we pulled this partially filled soil canister. It's the same thing for gases. We're filtering for hydrogen, full hydrogen, and it picked up the only partially filled hydrogen as well, and it also does the same thing for hydrazine. Debris is a special case when it comes to filtering. So if I let this pick up a piece of debris and put it down, it instantly becomes a debris bundle. And because the filter slot works off item ID and not the type of object it is, if I filter for the debris bundle, it's not going to pick up these debris because these debris are not the debris bundle. So this means you cannot filter for debris when using AutoArms, which is just an interesting side effect of them changing to debris bundles. Onto interactions with modules. So the AutoArm will put anything that can be smelted onto a smelter, but anything that cannot be smelted will not be put onto a smelter. It can also not take off anything from these 4 slots, but if I smelt the object, it will pull off the smelted object. It will also not put on anything that will explode onto the smelting furnace because that is not an object that can be smelted by the smelting furnace. Here we go. It pulls off that carbon. For the soil centrifuge, so it will only put canisters of soil onto the soil centrifuge. Even this empty canister will not be put on the soil centrifuge, but it will take anything off the soil centrifuge. So just be aware of that. If you have a soil centrifuge that's already full and you put a full soil canister on there, your AutoArm will take it off if it's not in use by the soil centrifuge. For research chambers, the AutoArm will put anything into a research chamber. It will also take anything out of a research chamber. So that is something you want to be aware of if you have research chambers researching things. Your AutoArm will pull any tier 1 objects out of the research chamber. For printers, the AutoArm will not put anything directly on a printer. You're going to need space on the platform for the printer to pull the resource in itself, but it will pull off resources from a printer. For the chemistry lab, so the AutoArm will only put resources that the chemistry lab needs on the chemistry lab. So here we have a chemistry lab. It's looking for carbon and compound, and we're trying to put resin on there, so it's not doing anything. But the second I switch it so that resin is an option, it puts the resin on there. And the AutoArm will not pull anything off of the input slots for the chemistry lab, but will pull it off the output slot for the chemistry lab. For the atmospheric condenser, the AutoArm will put anything on the condenser slot and will pull off anything on the condenser slot except for partially filled gas. So see, it's not pulling that off, but if I put this gas on there, it will grab it. For the trade platform and the EXO request platform, those work exactly the same. Your AutoArm will put any tier 1 object onto the trade platform and will pull any tier 1 object off the trade platform. So you want to be filtering for your traded material so you don't pull the scrap that you're trying to trade for off your trade platform when you're trying to trade it. For the shredder, so the shredder will attempt to shred any tier 1 object. Any tier 1 object that is not shreddable, such as resources, will not be placed in the large shredder. So only shreddable objects will be put into the shredder. This does, however, include dynamite, so you do want to be careful with that because that can happen. So that is a detailed description of the AutoArm and its various functions. If you liked the video, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.